To Celebrity Radio, it's Alex Belfield talking to some of the world's biggest stars and one of my favourite people, Elio Pace. How are you?
I'm very well, Alex, and it's fantastic to finally be sitting in the same room as you.
This is really one of those coincidences that I've been waiting for. I've been trying to see this new show. I saw you do this Billy Joel Songbook about 2 years ago and was blown away, A, by the fact that you'd sold out the theatre, which is such a hard task for a one-man show, but secondly, you were so brilliant and effortless. And then you're coming back in 2018 with a brand new show with Elvis. Tell us about it.
Well, Elvis was my original hero. I'm a Billy Joel fan. I don't believe Billy's the greatest singer-songwriter of all time, but I'm a Billy Joel fan because of Elvis. Elvis was, for me, in a way, the first ever world music artist. He did everything: gospel, blues, soul, country, rock and roll, ballads, different languages. He was incredible, and that variety I grew up with, and I love that variety, and that's why I love Billy Joel's music. So Elvis was my first hero, my first musical hero, and I've wanted. Well, actually, I've never thought about doing an Elvis show. I never actually ever thought about it. I've always sung Elvis songs. When I do my own material in gigs in the past on tours, I always included an Elvis Presley song, a Billy Joel song, you know. But last year, 2017, was the 40th anniversary of his passing, August the 16th. And at the beginning of the year, I said, it's 40 years. I was 9 years old when I read that on the paper, you know, and understood that something massive had happened because of the reaction around me from everybody. And I fell in love with Elvis and got my first record in 77. And I thought, I'm going to have to celebrate. I'll do something. Let me just do a little gig at the piano. I'll do a little, me at the piano, 50 people, we'll, you know, do something. I mentioned this to my colleague, Matt Daniel Baker, and I said, mate, I'm thinking about doing an Elvis Presley thing. Would you want to help me sort of write a little show? And by this point, I had come up with the idea of doing it with not just the piano, but the drums as well. And I stopped there. I didn't, no bass, no guitar. And I went, no, hold on. Yeah, I want to do it like this. And I explained in my show why I wanted to do it like this, because to me, it reminds me of being an 11-year-old at school in the practice room. When everybody had left, I would stay all night until the cleaners kicked us out, me, and the drummer was David Nichols. And I'm talking about the David Nichols, who has recently just written Patrick Melrose, the screenplay. You know, he's a fantastic writer, one of Britain's most famous, wrote episodes of Cold Feet and everything. He was my mate at school. He used to play the kit, no mics, no microphones, just me at the piano, him at the... And we would stay in this little room until the cleaners kicked us out. And it was in that room, over 5 years at secondary school, that I learnt to be, well, it's where my heart became a musician, really, where I knew that I wanted to go out there and do this for my life. And in that room, I learnt to play Elvis. And so I thought, I'm going to do it piano and drums. And I only had one choice, really, and his name is Steve Rushton, an incredible drummer. And I say that because I've been a fan of his for years. He played 2 tracks on my album, A Seat at My Table. He was free, and we're on this tour. And it was never meant to be a tour. It was meant to be a one-off last year, turned into 2 shows last year, and now it's turned into a tour in 2018, and it looks like we will be doing it again next year. So it's my very personal story about Elvis. It's my story. It's Elvis's story in a way that I think you've probably never heard told live in what is supposed to be a concert. It's a story as well. I tell you the truth. I mean, let's be honest. Elvis's life was colourful and incredible and wonderful, but it was tragic.
Right.
He didn't finish the story, did he? He died at 42. It was over. I mean, it doesn't get much sadder than that. He was not done.
And he didn't exactly go out at the top either. He wasn't sort of match fit, was he, at the end? He was being sort of sent out for money because it wasn't the Elvis we knew.
Exactly. That does make it even sadder. 42, not at his best. His voice was still beautiful. He had that gift, you know. But what could have been? When I turned 42, 8 years ago, I'm 50. I spent the entire year, everything I did that year, and achieved. Another gig, another stage I walked out of when I was, having a shower after a show, I would think, Elvis died this year, and I still haven't. I've only just made my first album. Right. I haven't even got to where I want to. The Billy Joel Songbook was still a dream in my head. Right. And Elvis died now. What could have been?
I've only ever seen 4 megastars of the piano who I think have charisma beyond anything I've ever seen or been able to comprehend, and that was Elton, Billy, a guy called Frankie Marino in Vegas, and you. I wonder whether there's a similarity between all 4 of you, that you're just obsessively compelled to the piano and you've worked damn hard at it to be that brilliant, or whether there was some God-given talent blessed upon you at birth. What's your take on it?
Well, I'm not sure about the God-given talent, and I'm not afraid to say that. I don't believe it comes from there. I believe it can be a genetic thing. I think there's but why is it that I understood music from such a young age? My mum and dad were musicians. In a way, my mum's a beautiful singer. My dad played the harmonica and the accordion. All Italians, have that music thing, don't they? I mean, they're not all amazing, but it's in the culture. And I was brought up in that culture. There was a piano in the house. So I suppose, if there had been golf clubs in the house and my dad had been a golfer, which he's not, maybe I would have become a great golfer. Maybe it's the type of personality that whatever hits you at a certain age is what you're going to be. All I can tell you, Alex, is that I love the piano. I mean, I love it like it's a member of my family. It has been incredible to and for me. I love the joy of pulling up a seat and sitting there and looking at the black and white keys and knowing my hands are going to create something that either soothes me, makes me happy, makes me sad, or other people around me. It's an absolute privilege to have earned my living at this all of my life. 30 years I've been in this business, and I've never had another job, and I don't think it's lucky, because I know you people work at stuff. You have to work at it, but I'm privileged that it's worked out in a way that people are paying ticket money to come and see me play. I feel it every single time I'm standing at the side of the stage and it's my turn to walk on at the beginning of a show. I feel privileged.
And that fact that the Piano Man is still as popular today as he was 50 years ago or 500 years ago is incredible, because audiences still love it. And what's great about your shows, it's not a load of old people sat there singing war songs. I mean, these are young people that are as entertained by you as they would be with any rock group in the world. That's brilliant, isn't it? There's something about it that's timeless. The piano is like an orchestra. I mean, it's not a portable orchestra, but it is an orchestra. You've got the low and the high. You know, that thing that kids do at school, and they, thunder. And now it's raining. Ding, 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 ding. That's an amazing. The fundamentals, reasoning behind that is that you have this wonderful instrument. It's a percussive instrument. It's actually part of the percussion family. It's not a stringed instrument. It's actually known as a percussion instrument because it's hit with hammers. So you've got the ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba, or you've got the lushness of a harp. You've got the thunder, the funkiness of guitar. If you can play funky stuff, and the greatest piano players, Elton John, Billy Joel, Leon Russell, some of the great Richard T, Michael McDonald. They can make you dance just by what they can do with these hands, and they've been my inspiration. And in a way, this is what the Elvis show is about. It's about the joy of these songs working just at the piano. Rock and roll is not, Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis, piano players. But let's face it, the majority of rock and roll, you think guitar, don't you? From Chuck Berry through the Beatles, into Eric Clapton and all that stuff. To have done it at the piano, to be a rock and roll piano player, I'm very proud of the little club that I belong to. And then added on top of that is your voice, of course, because if you've had the gift of piano, that would have been enough. You could have worked for any orchestra or band in the world. You've got this soul, and again, you couldn't pull off somebody like Elvis Presley unless you'd got that. Gospel was his roots. We can't forget that, and you've got to bring that to life in that theatre tonight.
That's right, and we thank you, and we do a section about gospel in the show, and we touch on all the areas of Elvis Presley's life. Gospel music was a massive. You're right. It was Elvis. That's what he. It's been written 100 times, and by the greatest writers who write about the history of Elvis. That's what he always went back to. He went back to gospel. He would sit around a piano with his friends and his colleagues and his band till the early hours of the morning after concerts in Vegas, 2 shows, and then he would sit there till 8 o'clock in the morning singing gospel songs. Right. And they would cry and they would laugh, and he needed it. It was like he was looking for some peace, and he found the word of God very comforting, and you know, whether you're an atheist or not, or whether you believe or not, I tell you something, that the whole religious thing has done one fantastic thing. It's created some of the best music ever heard.
I had Engelbert on very recently, and he was telling me incredible stories about how they'd watch each other in Vegas and then the parties afterwards. Yeah. I'm almost so sad that I was sort of born 50 years too late. Can you imagine being around then and the fun and the stories and what that time and that era was like? It's not like that anymore, is it? Everybody comes and goes, and we're all too busy rushing to the next gig. They were there and they were friends.
They were there, and it feels like it was less convoluted in those days. Tom Jones and Elvis Presley became massive friends. In fact, the story is that when Elvis decided he was going to get back in front of a live audience after his decade almost of being a recluse, he went to Vegas. He used to sit incognito in the back of Tom Jones's showroom to watch Tom Jones. He couldn't get over how great Tom was and how he was moving, and you know, and some of those Elvis moves that we now think of Elvis, it's Tom Jones. Even the jumpsuit type of thing, you know, the zip and the swinging of the hips and the doing with the arms. It's Tom Jones. It's Elvis doing his version of Tom, and he openly admitted that he was a massive Tom Jones fan. And of course, how do you think Tom felt about that? That must have been incredible. That would be the equivalent of finding out that Billy Joel has been coming to watch the Billy Joel Songbook privately and loved it.
Incredible.
And goes back and does little phrasing things that I do. So,
should we agree at this point Elvis is the biggest star in the world and probably will never be beaten? Because I can't think of anyone else as big as they are, even the Sinatras, in terms of airplay today. I mean, Elvis is still current. Even last night, Michael Ball ended his set with Wonder of You, and they loved it. I mean, there's a reason you do that. If you want people on their feet, get them to sway their arms to Wonder of You. Yeah. It's a guaranteed hit.
It is, and I hate to spoil it for you, but I'm ending with the Wonder of You tonight as well.
Very wise.
It's a beautiful song, and he obviously sang it fantastically. You know, he never recorded that in the studio. The version that they play is only a live version. You know, there are a couple of other live versions, but Elvis, without question, is the most famous, most popular, most iconic pop star there has ever been. It's not even a matter of opinion, it's a fact. Right. I mean, you know, the facts state he is still today the biggest selling solo artist of all time. It's over 600 million records sold worldwide and still climbing. So I don't. It's not even and it's not even. You don't even have to like him to know that's the fact. That's incredible. He has the biggest, widest fan club base in the world. There are Colombian Elvis Presley fan clubs. There are Australian. There are Japanese. There are, you know, British. There are Icelandic Elvis Presley fan clubs. That's a major reach, isn't it? Right.
And he didn't even have to sell out Wembley or appear here.
No, he never ever performed. He never performed outside of America, apart from Canada.
Right.
He did one little private thing whilst he was in the army in Germany, but no, he wasn't allowed, was he, to perform abroad because of his manager, Colonel Tom Parker. Again, I touch on this in the show. I do more than touch on it, because I'm not a fan of Colonel Tom Parker's at all.
Right.
And you know, you're either on that side of it, and I'm on the other side. for lots of reasons.
And the question I forgot to ask, of course, what is Elvis Presley's best song?
Well, the best song would imply, actually what songwriters came up with the best series of chords and lyrics and melody. But what's my favourite song?
No, I said, what's his best song?
Oh, okay. All right. His best song. I think it happens to be the one that I love the most, which is If I Can Dream.
That was going to be my punchline. Now, you better be doing If I Can Dream tonight, because it is his best song. It's slightly off as well. On the original recording, what's amazing, that vocal isn't perfect. He almost misses the notes, but it's so beautiful, isn't it?
He is slightly under on some of it. He's not quite pitching enough. I don't know where to start with this. First of all, the recording that we hear was recorded on a soundstage. It was for the 68 comeback special, which is 50 years old today. 50 years old this year. It was recorded in June of 1968 and broadcast in the December of that year. If I Can Dream, you're right. And can I tell you the amazing story of that song? Oh. They were looking for a song to finish this special, which he had done rock and roll stuff. He'd done old music. He basically become the king of rock and roll again. And the producer said, we need an out. How are we going to finish this show, Elvis? Come on. And he talked to the musical director and the producer and said, listen, I need you to come up with a great closing number for Elvis. And apparently this guy went home and overnight and came back, called everybody into a room around a piano, Elvis, Memphis Mafia, Steve Binder, the producer, all the guy, and the guy sat there with Elvis leaning up against the piano, and he sang it to him at the piano, which is another reason why I love doing this show, because you can imagine all of these songs at some point were just created on either guitar or piano and sung to Elvis at either a guitar or piano if it wasn't a demo. Right. He finished the first run through and Elvis didn't say anything. Everybody's waiting for Elvis to react. There's silence. And he just says, play it again. And the guy had to do it again. Same thing. No reaction. Play it again. He got the guy to play his song about 4 or 5 times before Elvis went, it's absolutely amazing. And he learnt it in those 5 run-throughs. He knew the words, he knew the melody, he was concentrating. Elvis was a genius, an untold genius. He was a proper music man. Just because he couldn't play properly or play the guitar great, he didn't write, he had it going on.
And with that song, when you're recreating it tonight, how nervous do you get? Because that goes bloody high, that song, doesn't it?
It goes high. There are higher, but it's more about making sure that I communicate the soul of that song. That's all I care about. I'm not here to impersonate. You know that, Alex. There's no jumpsuit hanging up here in the room, okay? There is no jumpsuit, there's no wig. It becomes about how good those guys are at doing it. Right. And as you say, some of them are fantastic. I have sat in 3 or 4 of these shows and gone, oh, wow, he looks just like, oh my gosh, that's, and that's the fun of it. But it's not about Elvis. Right. And we're not talking about music. I'm not talking about Elvis's incredible and tragic life. So I go out there and my only criteria to myself as an artist is to communicate the lyrics and the melodies and the rhythm and the soul and the spirit of these songs as well, even if I can get half as close to the way that Elvis would have done it as far as communication is concerned. That's my achieving. That's what I try to achieve every night.
You're a stunning performer and entertainer, and what you do to an audience is so rare. You're the only one in this country I see can bring that piano to life in these small venues where we can actually see you. It's all very well watching people on big screens, but I mean, you're playing these venues that you're doing so well. And again, the joy of that Billy Joel concert was how it grew, and over the tour you were selling out, and now they come back, and I guess there's no stopping you now. I mean, what's next? Frank Sinatra? Are there other stars? Because I mean, there's all these songs that we want to hear you do.
Oh well, that's so lovely. In answer to your question, no. Billy Joel and Elvis Presley occupy my whole. They sit in different parts of my soul. They have a very different emotional connection with me. And it's not to say I haven't loved all the other stuff as well, but when I'm only now interested in doing things that I'm absolutely 100% passionate about, I say no to a lot of things, a lot of gigs, playing on other people's things. And it's not because I'm being arrogant, it's because I have experienced what it's like to do exactly what you love to do. And it's like, why would you go and have a burger from that place,
right,
when you've tasted the most incredible lasagna over there? No, I have thought, it is a little delve into my mind. This is exclusive for you because you're so special. I have often thought ABBA, a guy singing ABBA songs, would be a very interesting concept, certainly at the piano. Again, I'm not going to do it. I adore ABBA. I mean, with a passion. I think if I was pushed, it would actually be Elvis, Billy Joel, and ABBA for me.
You're going to hate me for this one. I went to Benny Anderson's house 10 years ago and sat by the piano with him as he played Thank You for the Music and Does Your Mother Know and all these songs, Fernando. These are beautifully written songs, and you should do it because they should be recreated in their original form, which was him sat at a piano. These were not pop songs.
Exactly. They're folk songs, aren't they, in a way? I bet that was amazing. Benny Anderson and Bjorn Ulvaeus are the two people that I think in the top 5 of people I would love to meet, just to say hello and talk to them and just glean some of their magic, because I think they are utter genius.
He told me he thinks 75% of his music is crap.
Did he?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
And was that because he felt he was pushed into a sort of creating 3-minute pop songs?
Yeah, in a very short space of time. Before they'd had their number one, he'd got to write the next number one. So he hadn't got time to perfect it, because this guy, again, is a musician's musician. He wanted to do it well. Yeah. And in the end, it was about making pop. And pop is about being current and now and rushing it. So,
quick.
Yeah, you'd get on well, I'm sure, because he loves the science of the piano and how you get to that end product. And I asked him, would you re-record these songs again if you had the chance? And I think he probably would, is the truth.
Hasn't he just released a piano album of instrumentals of him playing his compositions? Alex, when I hear stories like that, and I know that Billy Joel is pretty down on himself as well. He thinks there are certain songs that were duff, and the rest of the world, including me, go, are you kidding? Honesty? What do you mean Honesty is not a very good song? Hello, I think it's amazing. Something's you see, though,
but isn't that what makes you brilliant? I asked you the same question the last time we spoke. Do you realise how brilliant you are, or is the fact that you're that brilliant because you keep pushing for better?
Well, you're very, very kind.
My suspicion is you're all the same, is that you're never going to be satisfied, and that's why you're as good as you are, because even your masterpiece is not as good as the masterpiece in your head.
No, except there's one big difference, is that Benny Anderson and Billy Joel are two of the most famous people on earth. And with that fame, and with that contract, and with that life comes pressure, a massive pressure, which you've just told me, and I've told you about Billy. Ultimately, I mean, to say that 75% of your output doesn't please you, I don't say that. I don't have those pressures. I don't have that. I don't have anything bearing down on me. I've created a business and a company and a world that when I wake up every morning, I can't wait to get on with my world, because the world I've created by learning to say no, by weeding out the darkness and opening up the door to the light and following the light, has made me, mate, am I allowed just to say I'm really, really happy? I'm really happy, and I love what I do. And yes, I may not have the money that they have. I may not have the cars and the houses, and I don't have Grammys, all of that. But I have a show tonight that people have paid to come and see, which when I walk out, every word that comes out of my mouth is honest and pure. And when I come off, if I haven't been great or I screwed up a lyric or something, then I can do better. But ultimately, I forgive myself because we're human for those mistakes. I forgive myself those mistakes. I come off that stage and go to bed tonight and go, I'm so happy I'm walking in my shoes.
But you have the joy of recreating that music to standing ovations. You can't beat it.
You can't, Alex. It's about control. You lose control if you want that level of stuff. Look at Michael Jackson,
right.
Whitney Houston, Elvis Presley. Whitney Houston died in a bath, right, having taken drugs. How happy is that woman? Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I found that utterly sad. And in a way, you can have that. You guys, if that's what you want, have it. I am happy walking out to this lot here, these wonderful people who've bought tickets tonight, with one of the greatest drummers in the world, Steve Rushton, singing fantastic songs in a show that I've written with Matt Daniel Baker. And I have the control over my life. I can say, I'll do another tour, or I won't do another tour. I'm not under pressure to do so, and I don't take that for granted.
Congratulations on everything. You're truly one of the most talented people I've ever met, and it's a stunning show. I can't wait to see it tonight. You got the Billy Joel show, which I know is coming back later this year as well, and Elvis on tour through the summer and into 2019 as well. Elio Pace, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Love talking to you, and you do an amazing job. You are like a proper listener. It's like the stuff you know and the things, you're so passionate. I love how you interview people, and I'm very, very honoured to have finally got to meet you and speak to you, Alex. Thank you.
It's mutual. Thanks for your time.